Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
In the world of racing, GT3 cars have long been a way for gentlemen drivers and young hopefuls to dip their toes into high-level tin tops. As such, it's appropriate that it's become one of the most popular classes on iRacing. And tonight, we get to witness some of those up-and-comers take a swing as we get ready to watch round one of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Road Atlanta gave us some insight into what to expect tonight with a Pro Series racing just 24 hours ago. But for those who missed it, let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curbing lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. DJ, as we said, we've already got to see the GT3s here, but for our audience that hasn't seen it, how do the cars drive at this track?
Well, Joe, they drive fast, and it is going to be a tale of two different types of circuit here. The first half of it is very, very technical. The rundown into turn 1, it's a brush braking corner, not real heavy onto the brakes, although we have seen some aggressive moves out of drivers to get a pass done through there. From there on, all the way to turn 5, the tricky turn 2 and 3, and down through the S's, you're really not going to be able to get anything done. It's pretty much a single wide way to go. But from there on out, that's when you can start getting aggressive. You get a good run out of turn 5, you may just be able to get something into turn 6, but if not, then you got the long back stretch. And with these GT3s and the multitude of classes that we have, the draft may not be enough to get past. We saw last night that car advantage on some of the makes and models of these cars actually played out a little bit. A couple of them, including the Porsche, maybe having a little bit more top speed to help getting a pass done into the left-right chicane of turn 10, which is the best overtaking section on the track. But listen, Joe, one way or the other, these cars are made for this track, and this track loves to have them.
Yeah, I love watching sports cars around here. Before we watch them too much, let's give a thank you to our sponsors, which include ASR, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and even complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between the virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
The PRL GT3 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So as we take a look at the race details here today for what we are up against, you can see all the different makes that the drivers can choose from. Interestingly, despite the Lamborghini being somewhat popular, I'm not sure that I see one here tonight. So I don't know that we'll have all 8, but should be a fun one regardless with the different types that they can choose from. 40 minutes for the event itself. It is open setup, and they have some incident limits. If you hit 10, you will get a drive-through penalty. We definitely saw some drivers last night suffer from that. And then at 15, you'll actually have a disqualification. There's the bonus points that you can grab at the bottom. And we're getting the first few cars across the line, I think now just starting their first flying lap for the pole bonus, as everybody vies for the fastest one-time lap around Road Atlanta. And again, this is the AM class that is racing tonight versus the pros that were last night. So these are the drivers that have aspirations of reaching that top level. And I can assure you, it'll be just as intense.
Oh, for sure, Joe, if not more intense, to be truthful. We watch here as Brett Barrett comes across the line. That is going to be, I think, one of the first times that we get put down. It's not. It looks like he may have had an off track. The first time is going to be Matt Hilton with a 1:19.369. So that is going to be the mark, the beat for the rest of this field.
Hilton hopping over from the trucks, much like we saw Charles Sumner do in the GT4 series last night, and he's actually here tonight as well in the GT3s. And we got a new pole sitter with John Antonino in the number 24, setting a 1:19 flat, just about 3/10 ahead of Hilton.
And as all of our viewers can see on your screen, this is an open qualifying, which is going to really help some drivers out down that long back straightaway to pick up a little bit of a draft more and more times coming in. Antonio holding on to that first place position with Hilton behind him and Demers rounding out your top 3.
Still waiting for a number of people to set a competitive time, as we've got Brett Barrett now and Brian Vorse. Let's see what Vorse can put on the board. 22nd. That's a ways down the order. In fact, he's about 4 seconds off. So it looks like he must have had some sort of issue on that lap.
Yeah, I think he had to have had to. Here comes your current second place driver, Matt Hilton. Oh, almost an identical time there, only improves by about 1,000th of a second. Really pretty remarkable to get those two twice like that. Here comes Demers coming across the line. He's going to be able to improve. That'll bump him up to P2.
That's Baron Glover, who also improves up to 14th that time across. Daniel Barnett, looks like he doesn't go any quicker. Oh, and Todd Lewis having some issues towards the end of the lap himself. So he's going to have to get back into pit lane to try and come back around. Eric Luke still looking for his first time in his Bimmer. And it looks like a 120.5 for him. So that will put him into 13th position. Semkovic now in the 012, a 122 flat. He'll be a little bit down the order on that one, 28th position. We're waiting for maybe about 8 more cars to get a time on the board.
Indeed we are, and those top runners really dominated by the BMWs. Antonio in the Porsche and David Flanagan in the Porsche flanking the other 4 BMWs, but we're going to watch Semkovic here as he works his way around, seeing what he can do as he gets going. Obviously driving one of those Porsche 911s, big chunk of the curb there coming through turn 5, but he handles the car well.
The BMW and the Porsche, 2 of the most popular ones here this evening. And once they're committed to this car, they have to use it for the whole season. As we watch Glover get down to a 120.2, and that's going to put him into 14th. We've had some swapping around. In fact, we just had a new fastest lap from Demers, and the 256, he puts himself only 500ths ahead of Antonino.
Very close between those top 2, and Race Liberante also popping in there in 3rd to displace Matt Hilton. Ryan Nicholson crosses the line there. Here comes Mark Kalin. He's going to cross over and improve his time, and now Eric Luke goes to the top of the charts.
Ooh, so Luke down to the 118s, actually. First driver to break that 119 marker, and we're waiting to see if any of the others close by are able to compare themselves on that. Nick McLaughlin went quick, but only up to 4th, and he just had an off track. So he's going to have to hustle to get back around and start another flyer since this one is already discounted. Boschel finally put one on the board. He's in 36th, though, so second to last of those who set a time. Matt Hilton all the way down to 6th, and he's not going to climb any higher this time with a 119.4.
And Alexis Demers there pulling into the pits, so not liking that lap. Here comes Parker Muirhead, though, crossing the line. Looks like this is going to be a bit of a slow lap for Parker, so that one's not going to count for the Canadian driver. But here comes Antonio. Does he have a response to Demers and Luke?
Antonino down to the line. A 119.3 is not going to be quick enough for him. So we now take a look at Brett Accord. The 151 looks like that was an outlap for him. We're starting to run out of time. Charles Sumner, good enough for 30th, and glad to see that scheme that we were admiring Monday night has carried over into the GT3s.
Indeed, here comes Huard. Ooh, big chunk of the curb there out of the exit. If he doesn't get an off track, that will be a better time. Indeed it is. That'll bump him up ever so slightly. Drew DeWeese able to go across the line, but not able to improve on that lap.
Chet Miller is not going to be able to go quicker. Zanadakis is coming up to the line in his 07. He's managed to crack into the top 10 with his first lap. It hasn't improved since then. And he is going to go faster at 119.1. That'll actually put him in the top 5 now.
That's a mega lap for him there. Here comes Parker Muirhead again, piloting his way out of that very tricky right hill downhander. Crosses over the line about a 10th off. Jumping back, though, here comes Antonino across the line. Is he going to be able to do anything to improve? Waiting for the time to come in. Doesn't look like it.
Flanagan next. He doesn't go any faster. So Brett Barrett will be among the cars coming up as he goes under the bridge, down the hill through the final turn now. Another of our BMW drivers, the 32, doesn't set a time, sadly. Behind him, Cervantes improves to a 19.405, but he doesn't improve his position.
Does not. Whoa, that's a mega lap from Liberante, and indeed, that is the fastest time by about the tune of 0.2 of a second.
Ooh, that's impressive with this big of a field and these quick of lap times, because the track does not take long to get around. To be able to find that bit of distance up at the front is something else. Boschel and the 187 wrecks out after he completes what's going to be his last lap and sends someone flying off into the ether.
That was Eric Luke, Joe. That was P2 who was just starting his flying lap, so that actually had some pretty dire repercussions for this pole position.
Wow. So of those who are still able to challenge for the pole, Liberante's out there. Antonino is out there. He just crossed and looks like he didn't go any quicker. He's got one last shot at it. McLaughlin as well. He just came across the line. Same situation as him. You have to go all the way down to Kwok Nin and the 239 to get to the next car that's out on track. He's down in 12th. We're not expecting him to be able to snatch a pole, but you never know.
Yeah, with a field this big, just about anything can happen. Great run there for Brett Barrett. That'll move him up if that time sticks. Looks like he got an off track, though, so I don't think it's going to. Almanar comes across here. We're following Todd Lewis.
Whoa.
Let's see what the Carolinian has.
And Liberante went even faster to an 18.703, so he extends the pole. And Kwok Nin, who is going to abandon his lap, doesn't feel confident he can go faster. Chet Miller down in 28th also doesn't improve. Rodrigo Morales will be next in the 23 machine.
Here comes Morales, one of about 3 drivers driving that old school Mercedes here. Always love to see and hear it out on track. Let's see what the Brazilian has in store. Not going to be able to go faster.
Nicholson abandons his final lap. Espina in the 20 sits in 16th. And he also doesn't manage to find time. Here's Antonino, last chance at the pole, and it's not going to do it. He's 2/10 slower than his quickest lap. Hilton, McLaughlin, both abandoning it. I see Brett Barrett out there, and Drew DeWeese. I think they should be able to finish these laps.
I believe they should. First up is going to be Brett Barrett. There he is. Remember, he got that off track last time, and I don't think that one's going to stick. Indeed, it doesn't, so he's going to stay down in 15th.
So that takes us to Drew DeWeese, the last one, with just a few seconds left to complete this flyer, which doesn't bode well. Usually they get plenty to try and finish it out. Yep, he's going to just cruise it on in to pit lane, practice that pit entry. 39 cars out here today, an incredibly big field for them to try and navigate. And we're going to take it through that starting order as the cars start to grid up. Race Liberante starts on the pole with Eric Luke starting in second. Alexis Demers is in P3 as John Antonino starts fourth. Then it's Nick McLaughlin in the 5th position. David Flanagan starts 6th, followed by Nikos Zanadakis in 7th. Brian Vorse back again in P8 with Hilton in 9th and Trepanier in 10th.
In 11th, it's going to be Danny Cervantes, followed by Jonathan Almanar in 12th. Kwok Nin will be 13th, followed by Brett Accord and Brett Barrett behind him to round out your top 15. Paul Espina will be starting off 16th, followed by Brian Hotham in 17th and Jason Larson to his outside in 18th. And then the 10th row of the grid will be made up by Mark Kalin and Baron Glover.
After that, it's Park Muirhead on the inside of the next row with Rodrigo Morales in 22nd. Todd Lewis starts 23rd. Neil Alexander managed 24th position in qualifying. Marc-Andre Desjardins in 25th. You've got Daniel Barnett to his outside in 26th, Lawson Christie in 27th, and Chet Miller in 28th. Then last two here on this slide, Baron Hilton 29th and Ryan Nicholson in 30th.
Charles Sumner again making a bit of a name for himself here coming off of the Truck Series. He is going to be 31st, followed by Drew DeWeese in 32nd. Johnny Luna will be 33rd with Jordan Walker to his outside in 34th. Gary Schilling will be to the inside of row 18, followed by Spencer Semkowicz in 36th. Guillaume Huard will be 37th, followed by Chris Boschel in 38th. And bringing up the back of the field, it is Lautaro Marini in 39th.
We have the pleasure of a few onboards for this evening. Hopefully we'll get to check on them at least a few times, see how their race is going, starting with Paul Espina and the number 20. And there you see his view. Actually really excited about this. He's got pedal cams that he's giving us so we can see not only how his hands are working, but his feet too. We've also got Brett Accord here tonight. Brett starting from the 14th position, just a little bit up, and we've seen him before with those guitars in the background. So glad to have the beard back. And then after that, it is Nick McLaughlin, also starting in the 5th position, way towards up the front. And he has turned the lights off and is ready to focus on just his screen in front of him. And then finally, we've got Brian Vorse starting from 8th, another of our front runners, as he gets ready to go and prep the car, prep the tires and the brakes, and we will be going green with him very soon. So 4 onboards for the evening, but 39 cars trying to take the green flag, and hopefully the checkered as well. But DJ, last night we saw that even on the very first lap, drivers have to watch out for many perils.
They do indeed, and it's sort of unfortunate that the trickiest part of the track really does come right at them after the green flag. Coming through turn 1, you can go too wide through there, but once you get up to 2 and 3, you've got to break it down single file, and at an Indianapolis-style start like this, that is very, very tricky. We saw a big kerfluffle in the pro race. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another there, but if that race last night was anything served as a marker for this, it's going to be an exciting race from flag to flag.
Yeah, that last corner is so blind, and after we had an accident on the other side of the crest, so many drivers just piled in, unable to see what was unfolding in front of them. We're already onto the back stretch with the front of the fields very significantly made up of BMWs. There's a couple Porsches in there, and then one lone Ferrari with Nick McLaughlin in that number 30 machine. But otherwise, it seems that one of the new toys here on iRacing is proving to be not only popular, but fast.
Indeed, but watch out for those Porsches in the straight line speed. We had them have a good run last night, some good top speed taking over on that. So we'll have to see if that plays true here in the M category.
All right, into the final chicane. That pace car pulls off quickly, and the green flag comes out just as quick. So Race will have to get on it pretty fast. There goes the Porsche pace car. He is off immediately. Green flag is out. And round 1 for the PRL GT3 AM Series sees a huge jump for the number 34 over those behind him as they now come up into the first corner. Are we going to be clean through here as well as turn 3? So far, the front of the field is very single file, actually. And the back of the field doesn't have too much side-by-side battling as well, as you see the front already into turn 3.
No, Liberante really got the jump on the field, and that spaced everybody out quite well. Looking back all the way to about 25th, everybody through that corner nice and cleanly, although it looks like Hotham and Kwok-Nin may have had a little bit of a problem, maybe potentially starting from the pit lane.
I think that may have been intentional from each of them. As taking a look to the inside, not sure who that is. It looks like Brian Vorse trying to attack on Flanagan for the 6th position. And they're going to come out side by side down the back stretch. The battle continues as behind them. Zanadakis is going to get a double toe.
Zanadakis is, but he's going to be boxed in there, not really able to go around it all, but he's going to try to poke his nose to what will be the outside. They're looking at going 3 wide down the hill. This nice little triangle. This can't end perfectly for all of them, but hard onto the brakes down into turn 10. Big back off for Vorse there ahead of Zanadakis and Flanagan. Great moves from Nikos.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't have much interest in trying to force the issue on that one. So far, so good. I'm not seeing any major incidents. A little beating and banging in the back as some cars made contact, but nobody even went off track with it. Loved that onboard with Vorse as he tries to pull a little bit of an over-under here on Flanagan, and it works.
Oh, that's an aggressive move from Vorse, but you love to see it. As you said, Joe, a good over-under through turn 1. That gave him the optimal line into turn 3, but he had to be very on the brakes through that blind turn 2-3 complex.
Oh, I think we may have had our first serious incident. Jason Larson in the 29 is off at turn 3. It was a single car incident, so he'll get going. Don't need to get a replay of that one. Looks like Espina is going to have a bit of an issue, but we're looking at Trepanier and Hilton fighting for the 9th spot.
Indeed, a nice little draft train starting to play out here. Everybody holding in line. Trepanier trying to hold off Hilton, and Cervantes taking a look behind him as well, potentially, but Cervantes looking like he's losing a little bit of ground. Everybody hard onto the brakes. They're going to accordion up there. Nobody really going for a move. No one quite close enough.
Definitely keeping each other in check in these early stages, but so is Luke on Liberante. The 709 is riding right underneath the rear wing of our leader as they come up towards turn 3 once again. Demers behind them is about a second back, with Antonino hard charging. In fact, Antonino, look at how close he's getting to that BMW.
It's really starting to get a little bit feisty. We ride on board with Antonino right here. This is that crucial turn 5. Got to get that right. He gets the right amount of curve, runs it out wide. Now, you're not really going to be able to make a pass down into turn 6 unless you're very aggressive on the brakes. Wouldn't be surprised if John backs off a little bit. Indeed, he does. Now, this is the one you've got to get right going into turn 7. Get this corner right. You get a good run down the straightaway. But it looks like both Demers and Limerante were able to do what they needed to do to hold him at bay for now.
Again, though, this is Porsche versus BMW, so two different makes. Does one have a little bit of a pace advantage in a straight line over the other? They come down to the braking, and Antonino is finally reeling him back in, and he runs out of straightaway. He's going to go for it anyways as he sends it side by side, and he gets pinched down. He can't complete the pass.
I have to say, I think that was a little bit of an overly ambitious move from Antonino. He needed to be a little bit stronger on the brakes, maybe a little bit closer to be able to do it. Getting a little close here on the start-finish straight, though, as Limerante sets the fastest lap of the race. Again, Antonino backs off. A little bit of twitch from Demers in front of him, though.
And now the Ferrari starts to join in. Nick McLaughlin behind them is gathering up these two. We've got a three-way fight for the last step on the podium. Heading through the S's, this is going to be single file, but we'll soon enter some opportunities for some overtakes if somebody gets a run. Ooh, like this.
Yeah, Demers got very sideways coming through turn 5, and that's all Antonino needed to be able to try to make the move. Tries to pull it around the outside. A little bit of a pinch there. No contact between the two, I think, but Demers not going away quietly. Tries to stick it down to the inside, and that's going to allow for McLaughlin to be able to get a run.
Great opportunistic move there from Nick, and that'll get him into 4th place. It's not over. Here comes Demers pulling back the slipstream, and they're losing touch with Antonino. That great move got him some distance to keep from being attacked like Demers is trying to do now as they brake hard into the chicane. He's going to have the inside of the first apex, but not the second one. Thinks about an over-under. McLaughlin, though, gets a great exit. He'll hold him at bay.
Hold him at bay for the moment, and there as they come around the corner. He may try to have a little bit of a look here into turn 1, but I severely doubt it. Pokes his nose to the inside ever so slightly, just trying to see what he can do. But all of this fighting has allowed for Xanadakis and Vorst to close up behind them as well, so they've got to get their act together a little bit, otherwise they're going to be ripe for the picking.
Well, the pros are almost going to have to start taking notes from the amateurs. This was definitely cleaner than what we saw from the pro start, even though there's a few incidents here and there. Otherwise, this has been very clean racing from this AM group, showing what they're made of. Plunging down towards turn 6. We're going to jump back towards 8th with Flanagan being chased by Trepanier, Hilton, and Barrett.
Yeah, Barrett able to close up to the back of this group, breaking down into there. I looked like Trepanier was trying to take a little bit of a later apex to try to maximize some speed, but I think he had some problems with the brakes. But now this is BMW versus Porsche, relatively spaced out here. Barrett may look at a little bit of a run, Trepanier as well. Here they come through that right-handed sweeper.
Very close behind him. Whoa! Late defensive move there from Flanagan. Trepanier still going to get his nose in spite of that. It's going to slow both of them up. And here comes Hilton, managing to get to the inside of Trepanier, at least briefly, but no change in position amongst the four.
That is exactly how it's looking like it's going to go here. That's a defensive move out of the front from Flanagan, trying to cover off the inside from Trepanier into turn 1. Trepanier should be able to carry a little bit of momentum, but I don't think he got it exactly right. He now has Hilton all over his gearbox, so he's going to have to be careful there. This is giving a little bit of breathing room to David Flanagan.
So they work their way through the S's once again. Oh, they start to spread apart a little bit here. Flanagan finally getting himself some breathing room. He was on some aggressive defense there late last lap in a couple corners. He must feel very under threat to be doing that this early. Oh, we got a car up in front of that's Nick McLaughlin. McLaughlin losing spots.
Yeah, and I think that was Xanadakis taking a little bit of an aggressive move into turn 7. We're going to check the replay right here. You'll be able to see it. We're focusing in on McLaughlin. Look at this last minute move. There it is. McLaughlin just didn't see that coming.
Elbows are out, and unfortunately it's the 30 that gets roughed up He might lose another spot because Flanagan's to his inside. The Porsche makes
Oh, and there's more contact right ahead, Joe. That was Xanadakis and Vorse.
Wow, 2 cars in 1 lap. Contact for Xanadakis. Vorse, again, the other one is the one that comes out the worst of the...
There you can see it. Yeah, it's a little bit of netcode there and a little bit of a pinch and a little bit of an over-aggressive sticking of the nose in. I would call that a racing incident all the way around.
So we're looking at Nikos now, running in the 5th position, up from 7th. I think we had an incident with Brett Accord. He didn't hit anything, but he did get hit, and it's going to be poor Brian Vorse, who T-bones him, apparently.
Looks like kind of a similar incident where he didn't see him coming up the inside. We're going to go on board here with Brian Vorse.
I think he loses it on his own, actually. Yeah.
Actually, Joe, you're completely right.
So Brian just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Has his own pair of incidents within a couple corners, and that demotes him into 12th. So he's got some ground to make up. Thankfully, it doesn't look like the car is too damaged.
No, you can normally see on that BMW some disfiguration on that front cross grille. Doesn't really look like he has it, so he's going to be pretty thankful that he didn't have too much. There you can see him driving, little micro adjustments as he makes his way over the hill.
Doesn't seem too fazed by what just happened. He settled back in and is trying to play catch up from here. Let's go back to the leaders, because 0.3 of a second between them, and they're already 8 laps into this thing. This is not over by any stretch. They've already distanced themselves from Antonito by about 4 seconds, so they've been putting great pace down and allowing them to focus on one another, at least for this stage of the race. They've got about 29 minutes left to go, so we're a quarter of the way in.
Indeed, Joe, and I have to wonder a little bit. Yeah, I just checked on board. I think Eric Luke is playing a little bit of a long game here. He's not looking to make the pass if he doesn't have to. He is lifting and coasting a little bit down the straightaway, potentially trying to save some fuel.
Already trying to be smart about things. If he can have a shorter pit stop, that'll be good for the 709, but we have a long ways to wait before the drivers are likely to come pit, as the GT cars here in iRacing often go long rather than trying to short pit anybody. Undercut doesn't usually seem to work. David Flanagan, who we were watching earlier, still has company. He's up to 6th now, but he's got Trepanier, McLaughlin, Hilton, Barrett, and Almanar as well coming in amongst them.
Yeah, and Trepanier was able to get a move done on Nick McLaughlin to move himself up into that 7th place position, so he definitely has some legs under him. Maybe a little bit of damage to McLaughlin's car. I see a little bit of it on the right hood section, but Dot doesn't look like he's stopping him. He's going to try to make a move on Trepanier, who didn't get the best exit out of turn 5. Pokes his nose to the outside, little bit of a defense there from Trepanier. He's going to hold on to that position for now.
Did McLaughlin get another chance here off of turn 7? Tries to get the power down, but all of them are going to get a nice tow, so it might even out amongst them. Oh, I say that, but Trepanier is looking very quick on Flanagan. He pops out. He's going to look to the left-hand side under braking. He's still got to execute as they slam on the binders, and he is much later managing to make the apex move Trepanier into 6th.
And Flanagan got a little bit put off by that. Nick McLaughlin almost ran into the back of him, but I gotta say, that was some very, very impressive brake work there from Vincent Trepanier, moving himself up to 6th place and not looking for a minute like he was offline going into that corner.
Interesting that Trepanier was able to make that overtake quicker than McLaughlin, who we would assume has a pace advantage over these guys. Certainly staying close to the rear wing of David Flanagan's Porsche, but he's not yet attacked him successfully. Gonna watch with Nick's on board here.
There you see, let's watch his hands, see if that damage is affecting the car a little bit, makes it especially wobbly. Pretty smooth there through turn 6 into turn 7. Ooh, big bit of counter steer he had to put in. Don't think that really was damage affected. I think he just caught a little bit of the inside curb. So despite some cosmetic damage to that Ferrari, doesn't really look like it's affecting Nick all too much.
He didn't get a great exit though. And Hilton is closing a bit. You can see him in the rear view screen. He's not going to be able to attack, although under braking, he comes within about a foot or two of the rear bumper of Nick. Everything evens out by the time they come around to the start-finish line. Trepanier making good in that clear air in front of them has already gapped Flanagan by about 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, he's having a very good run, but he's got about 3.8 seconds to get up the road to Xanadakis. So he's got his work cut out for him here and not going to have any advantage of a draft or anything for a good long while.
Yep, he's got some work to do. So as we hop on board with him, you can see him bounding over these curbs. Sun continuing to rise and increase the track temperature here in Georgia. They'll have to deal with that. We certainly saw the GT4s with their morning race at the Red Bull Ring experience a similar situation. Almanar and Vorse very close together. Did they swap positions, or? I think they did. Yeah, Vorse just got by him into turn 6.
And we'll jump back here and check out the GSRC replay. This was a very opportunistic move for Brian Vorse. Recognized that Almanar just had a bad exit out of 5. Position car around the outside of turn 6. I said that's a hard place to do it, but Vorse making it look easy.
Had a few hard chargers that we haven't been able to look at so far in this race. One of them being Lawson Christie going from 27th to 16th. Oh, and Almanar is in. Jonathan Almanar, early pit.
That's very, very surprising, Joe. No real damage to that car. I mean, I guess he's thinking about maybe just going for an undercut here. It's not a penalty. He is coming to rest in the box.
He was in that large group of cars, so he thinks maybe he can race better on his own and not being held up by those around him. That being said, he's going to have to deal with traffic most likely because he's coming out in what looks like about 21st, 22nd position amongst cars who have yet to pit.
Yeah, he's going to be put right out in the middle of that. That strategy, I have to say, for Almanar, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think that's going to play out in the long run.
It's not looking all that good, at least at this time, as McLaughlin under attack from Matt Hilton. This is down into the chicane. Nick McLaughlin just not having a great race ever since he got unceremoniously shoved off the course. There goes Matt Hilton into 8th spot. Oh, and behind them, a bit of a slip up from Brett Barrett gives Brian Vorse an easy 10th place.
Yeah, Vorse is really on a good charge here. We're going to check out the replay of this move from Hilton, and in the back, Barrett and Vorse. Watch this. Barrett, I think, just got a little bit of fixation in front of him, had to check up going through turn 10B. That allowed for Vorse to just get on by. Very, very heads-up play, and especially knowing that if you get offline through that final corner, it is very tricky to get right.
Making quick inroads into these drivers in front of him. Vorse is already now attacking Nick McLaughlin. I gotta think that Nick may be suffering from some sort of damage the way that he's been dropping spots. He tries to play defensive as Vorse goes the long way around to turn 6, ducks underneath him down into 7. The over-under, though, isn't as effective on such a short straight, and now we'll have to try again on the backstretch.
Yeah, it's not effective there, Joe, but I think what it did is it did put McLaughlin on a worse and more compromised line, riding on board with Nick there. Here comes Vorse down to what will be the inside going into turn 10. He's going to have to be later on the binders, and indeed he is. Move Vorse up into 9th place.
Only one spot down from where he began this race. Not a bad recovery. Up to this point, we're heading towards the halfway mark, and it looks like McLaughlin is tired of dealing with this damaged car. He is into pit lane.
Remember, they do not have a free repair, but the mechanics can, the virtual mechanics can bang on that hood a little bit, see if they can get something fixed there for him.
back up at the front. No, when did Luke take the lead away from Liberante? I'm checking to see if this happened recently. And he's a decent margin ahead. It was not within the last lap. We had missed it with all the action in the mid-pack. It looks like this happened on lap 12 into turn 7.
Exactly, you read my mind. Liberante just making a little bit of a mistake going through turn 6, and Luke got by him. We'll jump back to check out the replay here.
Just that one tiny mistake. We're spooling up the replay to see if we can get a glance at it. 34 just going wide at turn 6, pushing that little bit too hard. Looking for turn 6 here, so this might be a ways up the road.
I actually think this is after
yeah, it is, because
already got passed.
That's Luke in front of him. Seeing if we can find it here. Yeah, there's the tail end of the pass. So here we found the moment. And
all right, so there we go. Going down into 6. Yeah, just a little bit of a brake lockup, goes wide there, and that was all Eric Luke needed to get it. And again, that forces Liberante to go wide. So easy to make a mistake going through there, but oh, he has caught back up, has Liberante. This isn't over yet.
He's going to poke his nose out. He looks to the inside, coming into the chicane, but they are dead even on the brakes, given space at the apex. Eric Luke not chopping him off. That may cost him, because look at the better exit from Liberante, and he doesn't have the room over the crest.
Good defensive driving there from Luke to be able to hold it, but a better run for Liberante. Oh, here's Trepanier trying to make a move, and he gets it done. That is Trepanier on Xanadakis. We talked that he may be able to catch him here. Xanadakis looking for a fight back, though.
And the way that Nikos is not afraid to fight hard and close here today, I would be a little bit scared if I was Trepanier, having to deal with him. Give him a bit of a berth, make sure he doesn't wind up also with some contacts. The nature of the internet can sometimes cause those little ghost connections, and he's already dropping back. So wow, Vincent Trepanier on a charge. That gives us a chance to check back in on our leaders, and Liberante was much tighter to the apex through turn 7. Here he comes again.
He does indeed. I thought for a second there he was going to have a better run, but looks like he may have backed off a little bit. Getting the full effect of the draft here, he can maybe go for the move if he wants it. Indeed, starts to poke his nose out to the inside, trying to get that last little scrap of draft. Here he comes, late on the brakes. Luke and Liberante. Liberante to the inside, going to try to hold him off, but the corner's going to come back to Luke. They're still side by side as they start to crest the hill.
Just that little bit more speed, and this is Luke's chance to come and pit. So he is going to call it now with a little less than a half the race to go. Highest driver to have stopped, by the way, is Jonathan Almanar in the 0-2. He's in 19th.
All right, there is Luke. Now, remember, he's just got to get down to his box here and stop on the marks. Hopes everything goes okay. No tires will be taken. Looks like a good stop. Doesn't have to reverse. He's just getting fuel on the car.
Is he going to play a cool hand with this strategy, or is he going to be cost by the traffic catching him out? As he comes back out, he will return in what looks like about 11th position, and he's unfortunately going to be held up because that's Quote Nin in front of him. That's actually a lapped car. That's not for position.
Ooh, this could spell disaster for him as he tries to get past this car. If he caught him a little bit later in the lap, it would have been great, but not at this point. This is just going to slow him down.
Keeping an eye on Liberante as we watch on board with Luke to see if Race comes in response or if he decides to stay out. If he's got someone watching, I would think that he'd want to stay out, but no, he's going to come in.
He is indeed. So now the game is afoot. Now this is where this will help out Eric Luke. He'll get the draft from Kwok Nin. He'll be able to pick up a couple of miles an hour as Liberante is in pit lane coming down slowly.
Antonito did not pit and neither did Demers. So they are going to be first and second respectively. Braking deep. He'll be able to get the position. So Eric Luke now into 10th place. And where is Liberante? Liberante is in his stall. Luke is coming around now. It was 11.3 seconds for Eric. Race is going very long. Oh no, this is highly unusual. 16 seconds. What happened with the 34 stop?
I think he may have just overfueled the car. Everything else we're seeing is relatively low for a lot of these drivers. I'm seeing even a couple of 9 seconds. So I think he may have had a strategic error there and just misfueled it.
Wow. As all that was happening, I can report that Vorse got another spot from Matt Hilton. That moves him up into 6th place. He is yet to pit, and with 2 of our leaders having already taken stops, Brian will likely have to hand those back. Ooh, as things are getting tight here with some of our leaders who have pitted, coming through 6 and 7. Liberante having to go past Barnett and Glover.
And Antonino now coming into the pits as well. This will help out Liberante a little bit, as I said on that last lap, getting the benefit of the draft as he comes down the straight. It'll be out to see if he's able to get by Muirhead here. He's going to have to be very late on the brakes. I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
Quite a wide variety of strategies we're already seeing. These cars typically can go till roughly about 12 minutes to go in this series. He's already hit his pit stall, Antonino. Let's see if he's going to go longer, if he'll get a quicker fuel stop. Oh, it's going up pretty high. 14 seconds. Wow.
Well, that may be a little bit of a result if he was running by himself for a long time, just a little bit more worried about fuel not able to save. But look how close he's going to be behind to Liberante at this point. That's only Muirhead separating them. So in all of that coming out, just a disaster for Liberante, and Antonino now has a chance to maybe make some headroads.
Race made a great move into turn 1. Managed to get past Muirhead to separate himself from Antonino, who is his real race is with right now. Looks like John might be able to make a pass, though, into turn 6 as we're watching a little bit ahead of them down the backstretch.
Indeed we are. That is that battle we've been keeping our eye on. That is Flanagan, Vorse, and Matt Hilton. Better run there for Vorse, but he had to check up on the second part of the chicane. There goes Flanagan into the pits.
And Demers as well. Anybody else in? Looks like David Flanagan is pitting. So a few others peeling off bit by bit. Still waiting on Trepanier, Zanadakis, Vorse, Hilton, and Barrett. That's your top 5. Still looking to take their fuel.
Indeed. So at this point, focusing in here, this is that battle we were following a little bit of. I believe that is Liberante with Antonino coming up behind him, trying to hold that gap the best he can.
An update on Charles Sumner. He had a self-spin in turn 6. He got the car going again, but he falls to 27th, sadly, because of it. So our highest driver to have pitted is Eric Luke by a whopping 6 seconds over Liberante, who he was just about dead even with before the pit stop cycle kicked off between them. That tells you just how much he gained in that sequence alone. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't even have lap traffic around him. So as much as we doubted his early stop, this has proved to be quite a stroke of strategic luck for him.
Yeah, really, really has. Ooh, we've got our provisional leaders in the pits here. Trepanier, Zanadakis, Vorse all coming in. This will give Matt Hilton the lead.
Looks like Barrett also going to stay out on the track. So only 2 more now. Luke already passed Trepanier, looking for a stall. Did Trepanier actually miss it? Yeah, Trepanier missed his pit stall.
Oh, now that'll only cost him a couple of seconds, but at the same time, anybody who has driven out on track knows that that is a lifetime. That is going to put him right up close to Zanadakis there. Zanadakis able to get out ahead, but Trepanier is going to be right up behind him. Brian Vorse having a bit of a longer stop there, it looked like. He's going to come out behind.
Oh, and I think he just made contact. Oh, and more contact between Vorse and Sumner. And now serious damage on Brian's nose. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's watch this. That's Sumner right ahead of him, coming out, trying to sight that corner. Oh, just got off into the grass. I think maybe Vorse may have gotten slightly into the back of him as he came through, but just a very hard situation there all the way around with back markers.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain Charlie was trying to let him by because he wasn't racing him and caught him out. That's what pushed him, and he wound up in the grass because of it and slid back in front of Vorse. Up at the front, Hilton and Barrett both into pit lane, handing the lead back to Eric Luke.
Yeah, it looks like Peter Muirhead is coming in as well. So that and Baron Glover. So pretty much everybody reaching the end of their pit window at this point. Luke in the lead, Liberante second, a big 6-second gap behind. Antonino only about a second behind Liberante. He hasn't been able to close that as much as we'd hoped, but we'll have to keep an eye on it.
Well, now that the pit cycle has worked through, here's your situation. Luke leads by a healthy margin of 6 seconds over Liberante. He's got about 2 seconds, actually no, 1 second, I should say, over Antonino, who gained a lot in the pit sequence. He's up to third. Demers returns in fourth with Zanadakis going from 7th to 5th so far here today.
Yeah, Zanadakis doing a very, very good job of moving his way forward, but he's got some lap traffic in front of him by the tune of Ryan Nicholson. Now, we're on board with Zanadakis here. There you can see that'll slow him down a little bit through the apex of turn 7. There goes Nicholson getting out of the way, but he'll get the added draft now of Daniel Barnett ahead of him, so that's going to scupper a little bit of the hope of Vincent Trepanier being able to get by here.
I have even worse news for Brian Vorse fans. All that contact he's been making has netted him a drive-through penalty, so he's even farther back into 14th now. And just ahead of him is the battle between 12th and 13th.
It is indeed. This is Parker Muirhead and Matt Kalin. That's Muirhead in the Ferrari, able to pull ahead a little bit. Kalin's going to hold up behind, try to get a good draft here. Very defensive move there from Muirhead. Going to try to have to be late on the brakes as Kalin. He's going for it around the outside, but it'll switch back to his advantage as they go through the second part. Woohoo! Good move there for Mark Kalin.
Good news for Vorse is that allows him to try and catch up a bit, and he's thinking about it into the last turn. Not a place you usually want to go too wide.
There's Muirhead trying to fight back a little bit through the first corner, not able to make it work. Ooh, runs wide there, and there's Vorse, says, thank you very much, I'll take that.
Shake and bake, and Vorse is going to capture 13th. So we hop on board with him. He's now going to have to fight with Kalin. Ooh, and a lot of hand movement. Look at that thing.
Yeah, really, really wiggly through there. Ooh, but even more of a wiggle from Kalin in front of him. Vorse, I think, smells some blood in the water. You can see him there starting to sight that corner of turn 6. Kalin off the apex. Vorse decides not to try to push it too hard. And oh, big mistake from Kalin. That is going to give massive advantage to Brian Vorse.
The 62 was nowhere near the apex, and now Vorse is poking his nose to the inside. Kalin, another one of those coming over from the Oval Series here in the Precision Racing League. And he's doing pretty handy, I have to say, here in the GT3 AM Series. And he's going to successfully defend down into the chicane, retaining 12th spot.
That's really heads up driving all the way around, but Vorse is still looking for it. Gets onto the grass a little bit there, trying to force Kalin off the line through the final corner. They're going to be side by side crossing the line. It's tricky to try to get a move done here into turn 1, but Vorse is going to go for it, sticks it down, and he's got ahead of Kalin.
Let's not forget that Vorse has got to be extra careful from here. It's only 5 incidents between your first drive-through. Oh, and behind them and off. That is Muirhead, who found the tires on the exit of turn 3. Many drivers have done that over the years. He's not the first, and he won't be the last.
Indeed, just looked a little over-eager on the brakes, caught a little bit too much curbing, and right into that tire barrier. I've got to say, that's probably some relatively terminal damage for that Ferrari.
So what I was saying before is Vorse, we don't know if it was exactly 10 that he had or if it's more than that. So he's got to be extra tidy in these last few laps to make sure that he isn't fully disqualified, because that'll happen immediately.
Exactly. Speaking of the last few laps, we are ticking down with just over 7 minutes to go here. And one of the best battles on track. This is Trepanier hunting down Xanadakis.
Yeah, they've been close pretty much ever since the pit stops finished. And I was half watching that as we watched the battle between Vorse and Rivals on screen. Xanadakis, your lead car there in the BMW. Trepanier just behind him in the blue and white. We're going to watch from on board Vincent, the Canadian, trying his darndest to see if he can get close enough that he can attack the New Yorker.
Well, he's going to try here, carrying good speed through the corner, but unfortunately so was Xanadakis, both down onto the binders. Late apex there for Vincent Trepanier cost him a little bit of speed, but he'll be able to pick up some here on the draft. Gap is only about 0.5 of a second.
They've still got laps to go to try and make this stick, but he's got to set himself up, and this is looking quite good for Vincent. And Nikos knows it. He covers him off down into the braking for the chicane. He's very shallow into there, but Trepanier doesn't bother the apex at all, and he falls back.
I think that was a little bit of just trying to bait Xanadakis into a mistake there. He almost had him. You saw all of the dirt getting kicked up from that number 07 right in front of him.
That puts him a little bit off the rear bumper now. Not quite within range. While we've got a shot, I want to give another little tip of the hat to our hard charger. Well, actually, I take that back. Different hard charger than I saw before. Johnny Luna in the 14 has come from 33rd to 16th.
Absolutely mega run there from Johnny. We weren't really paying attention to him, and we apologize from that, but that is just a heads-up drive, sticking out of any of those incidents and driving a very clean race for the Californian.
Just has to hold on to that for 5 more minutes. He's got to feel good about that one, especially considering there are plenty of cars that are finishing as they sit now. I think we're looking at about 29 to 30 of them that will see the checkered flag. Back to Flanagan here. This is Brett Barrett closing in.
Again, a battle we've seen a lot of times today, Porsche versus BMW. Barrett going for a very late move there. Don't think that was wholehearted, just a little bit of trying to get into Flanagan's head.
Well, it didn't quite work yet as Flanagan keeps the spot. Porsche versus BMW down towards turn 1 once again. This has been honestly an impressive race for our AM drivers. If I'm being honest, and this isn't a slam on the drivers, DJ, but I expected them to have probably more issues, more accidents and problems in this race than the pro drivers did. But this really has been cleaner all throughout as he's deep on the brakes, closing in on that Porsche.
No, Joe, you're completely right, and it is no slam to these drivers, but being an AM driver means that you don't have as high of an I rating, you may not have won some championships, normally means you're a relatively younger driver. You haven't been on the service as long as some of the pros, and that would normally mean that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that kind of sets your expectations, and I'm glad to have those expectations defied here today as we continue to watch from on the car of Brett Barrett. Still looking for Flanagan. They're going to put a lap on Huard. Nicely done there by the 399, just letting them past.
Indeed, and we heard in the driver's briefing before this that in those kind of situations, it is on the driver getting lapped to be as predictable as possible. That's exactly what he did, but this is that battle with Nikos Xanadakis and Vincent Trepanier getting close once again.
Just keeps ebbing and flowing, and this is where once again Vincent has a shot. Can he do something with it? Last few times that he's tried to attack, it hasn't worked out. They've got Baron Hilton in front of them. See if Baron is just as polite as we saw from Huard a moment ago. He'll have plenty of opportunity down the backstretch, and he's not fighting anybody, so he should be able to pull over for them if he wants to.
Well, and Trepanier is going to be hoping he pulls away as soon as possible to deprive Xanadakis as much of the draft as humanly allowable. There they go, the gap ebbing out to about 0.4 of a second.
2 laps to go, by the way. Our leader just crossed the finish line. So we're now very close to the end. Ooh, and forcing a defensive move from Nikos. Vincent is starting to make him sweat.
Went very defensive. Oh, that's off in front of them. Oh!
Both of them into the wrecking Baron Hilton, hard into the wall. How fast are the cars after this? Trepanier able to get it going, but it looks like they will lose a spot to Matt Hilton, his brother.
Oh my goodness gracious. Let's watch this here. Baron Hilton, obviously some damage to the front of that car already. Let's watch as he crests over the hill, comes down. Oh, he was just trying to get out of the way, Joe, and misjudged that. That sent him into the grass, and that sent him spinning around. Nowhere for either Xanadakis or Trepanier to go.
Bad news for Xanadakis fans. He had to take a tow. He is going to DNF with just 2 laps to go. As we once again look at Flanagan and Trepanier, you can see dealing with a suboptimal car, as they say at McLaren.
Yeah, not exactly what you want when the front hood of the car is not on it. I have to imagine Flanagan's going to be able to have a top line speed advantage here.
Just got the white flag for Eric Luke, our leader, holding that 6-second gap over Liberante ever since the pit stops. Trepanier still in 6th, and Flanagan not able to blast past like I would have expected.
No, same here, Joe. That Bimmer apparently has a little bit more structural integrity than I was giving it credit for. Trepanier still hustling that thing around the track and keeping Flanagan at bay for the moment as they take the white flag. Ooh, is that behind him? That was Barrett trying to take a look.
Indeed, but this is our leader, Eric Luke, outside of the front row for his qualifying. He didn't need the pole, even though it would have given him a bonus point. Once he settled that battle through strategy, he did not look back. He's lost about a second since I last reported that gap to Liberante. I imagine he is managing that to the finish line, which comes up in just a couple corners time. For the first race of the Season 3 PRL GT3 AM Series, it is going to be Eric Luke taking the victory ahead of Race Liberante, just behind him by about 4 seconds. And how about John Antonio onto the Antonino onto the podium?
A great drive from all 3 of them there. Obviously, Liberante suffering a little bit from that strategy call. We check back on that 6th place battle. Very, very heavily damaged. Vincent Trepanier able to hold on over David Flanagan. I am floored by this, Joe.
I don't know what to say. I can't believe that that car is running this fast. It will get him a 6th place just ahead of Flanagan and Brett Barrett. Behind them, only 16 cars on the lead lap, by the way. Most of them seem to have spread apart. I think Alexander and Chet Miller, the only fight we've got, last one's on the lead lap.
Indeed, there it is. Neil Alexander trying to haul him in if he can. I'm trying to hold off if he can, rather. Chet making a look here as they go on to the backstretch. Chet's got some good speed. He's going to have to be very late on the brakes. Moves. Alexander gets a little bit defensive. That's enough to hold off Miller. I think Alexander can have it. He's just got to watch out for some wheel spin coming over the hill.
And he gets it on the throttle smoothly. So Alexander for 15th, Miller with 16th. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. Round 1 for the PRL GT3 AM Series saw Eric Luke take the victory in the end. RaceLab qualified on the pole, and though he did hold the lead for a good chunk of the start of the race, once the pit stops were done, he just couldn't match. Eric Luke had a longer stop on top of it. John Antonino finished in third with Alexis Demers in fourth position. Matt Hilton rounding out your top 5. You've got Vincent Trepanier, despite a huge wreck with 2 laps to go, kept the pace up on that car and finished in 6th. David Flanagan was 7th and Brett Barrett was 8th. And it's Jonathan Almanar in 9th and Nick McLaughlin getting sent backwards and unable to recover, taking home 10th.
Brian Vorse, another driver who had a lot of incidents today, was able to come home in 11th, followed by Mark Kalin, a good, impressive drive from the usual over driver. Rodrigo Morales was in 13th, followed by Lawson Christie and Neil Alexander in 15th, who was able to hold off Chet Miller, who came home in 16th. Brett Accord was 17th with Todd Lewis behind them. Accord and Lewis, the first of your cars a lap down. Daniel Barnett in 19th, followed by Spencer Semkowicz in 20th.
Baron Glover, the last car, 1 lap down in 21st, and you've got Johnny Luna, 22nd, and DNF for Nico Zanadakis in 23rd. Charles Sumner, 24th behind Tim Guillaume Huard in P25. Last car, 2 laps down, was Charles Bochelle in 26th. Then it's Baron Hilton, another one DNF today in 27th. Marc-Andre Desjardins, 28th. Didn't see the checkered flag. Brian Nicholson did in 29th. Espina did in 30th, and then from there on down, it is all DNFs. Sadly, looks like we've got our winner, though, ready to talk to us. Eric Luke coming away with the win. Eric, I don't know if you were as surprised as we were, but after the pit stops, it seemed like race was just nowhere to be found.
I wasn't sure what happened. I knew I had saved a bunch of fuel sitting behind him for the first half of the race. So I don't know if he had a penalty or if he just accidentally took extra fuel or if I had actually saved that much fuel. I don't think that was the case, but I was rather shocked when I came out with just a little over 5-second lead.
And on top of it, you managed to hold on to it, keeping that gap pretty much equidistant. Were you just kind of managing things there, or were you pushing 100%?
Yeah, towards the end, I was still managing. I did have to go into a little bit of fuel save mode on the back straight. I was lifting and coasting pretty early going into the braking zone before the hairpins there, and thankfully, I think I finished the race with like 0.02 liters left in the car. So I'd managed that between managing the pace behind me and managing my fuel, as well as some of the lap traffic and the guys in front of me towards the end. They were battling out for 17th and 18th. So I just kind of dropped the pace to make sure I didn't interfere with their race either.
Now, you guys have a unique situation with the GT3 Pro Series taking place the night before. Did you have any little birdies in there giving you tips and advice, or did you study it at all?
Unfortunately, no. I spent most of last week on vacation. I did get some track time in during the official series that I was able to work out strategies and pit stops and things like that.
Well, it was an impressive race regardless. Congratulations on the win. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and thank my title sponsor, Apex Button Box. Please give them a visit at facebook.com/Apex Button Box. And I'd like to thank the crew over at TQ Engineering for putting a fantastic car underneath me. I appreciate it.
It was Eric Luke, your victor for the first round of tonight. Second place was RaceLab, and DJ's caught up with him.
Well, Race, it looked like a pretty good battle there between you and Eric Luke, but I have to ask you, man, what happened on that pit stop? It looked very, very slow from our perspective.
Yeah, I just made a mistake coming in, came in too slow, and then I put a little bit too much fuel in, so just a bad stop, and that's what really just ended up killing my race. Eric and I felt like we had a pretty good pace going and a little race going ourselves, and even after the pit stop, we were pretty much neck and neck. I was able to reel him in, then he'd stretch it out. So, unfortunately, just made a mistake and gonna fix it for the next one.
Well, I have no doubt that you will be able to do that, my friend. But it looked like there that you were at least sort of managing the gap between you and Antonino when you came out. Was that really what you were doing, or were you trying to chase down Luke at all?
At the beginning, I tried to chase down Luke, and when I added more fuel, the car just got a little tight. So I was chasing a little bit of an exit push. So I really had to start backing up the corners just to make sure I didn't get too many incident points or anything like that. So yeah, just at that point, I was, if I could catch him, I could catch him. If I couldn't, I was at least going to try and manage my gap to my teammate. But hats off to him for picking up a third, and yeah, we're gonna study a little harder for the next one. Congrats to Eric on the win.
Well, speaking of the next one, we head to Hockenheim. How do you think that's all going to play out for you guys and your teammate, John?
I think the team and all of us, we're gonna test a lot, and it's not a track I'm extremely familiar with. So I'm excited for a new challenge and a new racetrack. But I think if we put between our pro guys and our AM guys, I think we can come up with some hardware at the next one too.
Well, that sounds like a challenge that's been thrown down, and I am very much here for it, Race. Anybody you'd like to thank for this second place here tonight?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank all my Delta Sport teammates, everybody at Race Factory, and Extreme Sim Rigs, Steel USA, and the rest of the sponsors that help us do what we do.
Fantastic. That was RaceLab Apps, your second place finisher. And now Joe Peak has caught up with Nick McLaughlin.
Nick, unfortunately, moving a little bit backwards today. Nick, you started from 5th and you finished in 10th, but it seemed like it mostly started to unravel after lap 6 when you got kind of shoved off the track. Were you experiencing damage?
Hey guys, thanks for having me first. I was actually just taking a look at that after the race ended there. I had a little bit of damage on the straight. The guys were eating me alive. That's kind of prompted me to take an early pit stop. It wasn't much, but I definitely felt better in the second half of the race.
Well, that's good to see, at least. Being stuck both times, first at the front pack and then with another large group of cars. Do you enjoy those situations where you've got so much going on around you, or do you prefer to be able to race alone?
Yeah, it's, I don't know, pros and cons of both, I guess. It's definitely the excitement of being in the pack, but it's also pretty sweaty and stressful, and can hardly breathe in here.
I can understand that. Not everybody necessarily can have the AC pumping during their race, but now that you've got one under your belt here at the GT3 AM series, we head off to Hockenheim. Do you have much experience over there?
A little bit. Truthfully, Road Atlanta is definitely not one of my strongest tracks. I'm much more comfortable at Hockenheim, so I'm really looking forward to that one next week.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you fare then. Congratulations, at least on a top 10, solid points today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Nick McLaughlin there with a 10th place today at Road Atlanta, but that takes us to close as we thank our sponsors, of course, including ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab, it helps you improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app, as well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. A thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts we've listed on the screen. And thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our music. Her Bandcamp is there if you want to check out more of her work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also have our social media listed there, and if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We've got a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we mentioned, in 1 week's time, we're heading off to Hockenheim. That'll be Tuesday, June 29th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. In just a few moments, we're heading off to Sonoma for Flying Husky Racing's finale. That'll be 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.